The Mike and Tony Show is intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised.
Yo, this is Jordan, aka Mr. Misfit. You just tuned in to the Mike and Tony Show. Yeah.
Episode 152. Here we sit again in the studio, Pierce.
Yes, sir.
This time we have somebody here that we've only had on a remote podcast before.
Yeah.
Which is new and exciting. It's pretty cool to meet you in person today, my friend.
Likewise. I love the energy in here.
We will introduce him. Mike,
Yes.
How was your week?
It was very, 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 very busy. It's the end of the term.
Oh, yeah.
So that means I got a lot of, I'm the bad guy notifying kids of their money. It's going back and
That sounds
this
like
and that.
fun.
So yeah, no, it's been, and then it sucked too because we also had like a funeral too. Because like my boss's husband passed away. And so it was terrible. Yeah.
no.
It was the timing and we're just a mess. And then we found out that somebody's leaving that we just hired.
Oh,
That
man.
quick.
So yeah, within the last month.
It's gonna be a happy episode. We're gonna bring you happiness on this Friday night, Pierce.
Yes.
The great and powerful Fronzo Gilkey
yes,
is
sir.
in the studio this time. Last time it was during COVID, during lockdown.
It was.
Yeah.
Way to have a first introduction.
Yeah, for sure, bro. So how has life been since then? What you been up to?
Boy, life has been crazy, wild, invigorating. Shit that I did not see coming has happened and passed over. So I'm excited to break it down with you guys. You know, what was the last time we were here? 120 we were talking about
Yeah.
before?
Yeah, for listeners, go back to episode 120. You
Yep.
can hear all about his thespian and
Black Actors Guild.
Black Actors Guild adventures.
That's what we were talking about.
all
All right.
sorts of adventures.
Crazy updates, y'all.
Yeah. First of all, I guess we could start with the pandemic, bro. We talked a lot about that. I went back and listened to the episode, and we talked a lot about at the time of how it was stifling artists in general.
Yep.
Because like I'm a musician too, and so
Yeah.
like not being able to get out and play music, not getting out, being able to get out and do shows. You were talking about these crazy situations where they were like only 2 actors could be there and like 5 people or
Yeah.
something at a time could
Yeah.
watch the show. You're like, wait, we could just do this in our
Arbitrary
living room.
rules. It's really crazy what they had out there.
So crazy, dude. So how was the pandemic for you? Did you get the dreaded COVID at some point?
You know, it did show up. It showed up like 2 years later. Crazy enough. It was actually, so the whole pandemic, I'll say, it kind of changed how life was going, what I was doing beforehand, you know, working for 24-hour fitness and my other school job as far as being a 9th grade teacher kind of fell down the drain. And in a way of, you know, schools were shut down, the gyms were shut down. You have to find out a new way of living. So I kind of like bled into art really, really hard. And I found myself trying to figure out what was next in life. And around every corner, there just kept being some kind of like art opportunity, whether it was really small, like the ones we were talking about, doing improv shows over Zoom, or like an hour-long gig at the Butterfly Pavilion, whatever it was. Art just kept showing up over and over. And so I was like, dang, maybe I should stop, you know, just taking these small moments, and which I was grateful for, but I was like, let me try to create them, you know, make them myself and see what that life is like. So I started a company. It's called Different Media with a Y instead of an I. Media's spelled how you spell media. And yeah, it was supposed to be something just to keep me afloat, so that if I did do any art projects, from filling out tax forms and all that other stuff, I would be like legally safe.
Legit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was like, please, IRS, don't come after me.
Right.
And then it is slowly built and turned and found its own vessel of life to support other artists. And what we like to do through that kind of source we've been around for a year now. We've had 2 shows through the pandemic time. And it's been beautiful. One of the shows, like, I'll say each show has been centered around having the attendee or the audience member be challenged, inspired, and also entertained in different ways. So we try to bring not only what's happening here in the city, culture, community, to the show, and kind of bring resources / kind of real world view on what's going on, but also bring entertainment and fun, because nobody likes to go and be told about sad shit. It's not fun.
Mike.
Yeah, dollar.
Open up the episode. Okay, I know. See, you open it up sad, I end it sad. That's how we roll. Yeah, I love
both
that.
ends, both spectrums. So yeah, like our first show was in October of last year, and it was called Intimate Views. And basically the idea was me and a visual artist / best friend, we came together on a project, and we really just wanted to talk about what it is to be human through the whole time of the pandemic. Everybody just stuck by yourselves or with small, intimate groups. So he made about 7 different art pieces, installations that were surrounded by these questions of what it is to be human, whether that's how you relate to another person, whether that's your own interpersonal point of views of what you're going through. And we tied those to games that the audience got to play throughout the night that kind of got them in the mood, not only to think about themselves, but also interact with other people in a fun, whimsical environment. And then we threw in a lot of artists in that as well. So we had burlesque, musicians, other things.
Beautiful, dude.
Yeah. And so for that show, and then it kind of bled into all these other things that have built into it. We just had a spotlight show showcasing local artists that was weed friendly, 420 friendly, and a psychedelic warehouse.
Yeah.
So we gave her, it was 90s theme. We gave away prizes. People got way too hype over stuff.
How did I miss this?
You know, man, I don't.
You know what? I actually just added you today on Facebook, and then I went to go add you on Instagram, and I realized I already followed you on Instagram. But
Yeah.
yeah, cool, man. Oh, that's pretty dope. I love the aspect of it being interactive with the audience.
Me too. Like, that was something as a performer, as someone who obviously goes to other people's shows and loves to support. I love immersive, engaging shit that the audience gets to do, where it's, you're like, yeah, I'm coming here to see a show and want you to perform for me, but at the same time, I don't want to feel like just a lazy person sitting there. Yeah. So all of our shows try to have some kind of interactive theme. Our last show, like, we made people pair up with strangers, and then you had to make a handshake within 2 minutes with that stranger, and then it was like a whole competition we did with that. So yeah,
bro, I feel like it's a little bit of your teacher mind coming to life there.
That's where it comes together, man. Luckily, I was gonna say, like, even throughout the pandemic time, I was able to find another creative space that is in the education system, and I work for a nonprofit after school program in which we bring art and coping skills to little kids, anywhere between like 2nd grade to 5th grade. And then we also have summer camps that go from like 2nd grade to 8th grade. But yeah, within those camps, we really try to bring other artists in the community, people that are, well crafted in their art medium, and then try to relay it to how they get through their everyday life and bring activities to that. So kiddos get to explore like visual arts, capoeira, we got mindful yoga movements, forest and nature artists that come through. So yeah, I will say the pandemic has been a crazy time to shift into more art for me.
Dude, I love that. And I love the connection. I love that teacher in you. I love that part of you that's like drawn to working with kids too. Just because I feel like they need that. And I love that you mentioned you guys weave in the coping skills. I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade this year. Next year, I'm only teaching 7th grade. Okay. But for all 3 grades, we do those kind of activities every day. It's part of our homeroom, like breathing exercises and all that stuff, and coping skills, and like becoming aware of our feelings and like how we manage and interact with other people and all that kind of stuff. Because studies show it goes a long way in the classroom. Even if you're just an academic person and that's what you're focused on, those things are gonna are going to inform and benefit that too.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I would say like the time in the classroom is really what's gotten me through a lot. Like being with the kiddos and seeing those moments of them either having breakthroughs or kiddos that like at the first day of class were a struggle, and by the end it's like, oh, we're working together. We've built some kind of sense of community, some kind of like
That's awesome.
ensemble in which we can all work and create. Plus, we bring snacks, and kids go crazy for snacks.
You have to tell me, bro. For sure they do. So, and what grades you work? So you work with second, third, fourth, and fifth?
Second, fourth, and fifth.
Second,
yeah.
fourth, and fifth. Okay.
Yeah, second, third, fourth, and fifth. You're right. For the school year, and then their after school programs. So
And that goes up to eighth.
And those actually go up to fifth grade for the school year. And so they work in 6-week sessions. And within those 6-week sessions, we bring in those partner artists, and then we cycle through 4 times in the school year. So so we get new students and kind of get a balance. So everybody gets to experience what Peace Warriors, that is the name of our program, does.
Peace Warriors. Oh,
Peace
I love
Warriors. That. Yes. And yeah, I had the grace and privilege to be a partner artist in this when it first started. I think about 6 years ago. And yeah, I was just coming in kind of on the, yeah, thanks for letting me off the bench, coach. Get 5 minutes in the game and, talk to the kids for a second. And then, yeah, over COVID, they actually expanded and they were opening up new jobs, and they came to me and they're like, hey, we'd love for you to apply. And I was like, wow,
Dude.
It's been an amazing time. We actually just hired 2 other people that, so I'm like, it's great to see it build and grow and thrive with people that are not only like from the community, but like artists and people that care about kids and really want to see change happen like around and stick around for that kind of stuff, because it's not easy.
Does this remind you of any of our interviews?
Yes.
Yeah. Who are you thinking of?
Lacey.
You've got. Do they know each other?
I was like, no. Let me see it.
You've got to meet our friend
Okay.
Lacey McDonald.
Yeah.
He's actually the one. He kind of inspired me to become a teacher.
Yeah.
He was on a podcast and we were talking about stuff. And this was when I think I was doing music full time at the time. And he just mentioned, that it didn't mention. He was talking extensively. He created back then. What was that first program?
Project Exodus.
Project Exodus, which still exists.
Yes.
And he still does all kinds of other stuff. And so he works at the middle school I'm at right now.
Cool.
They're building gardens. They had like an assembly line out in the parking lot yesterday.
Yeah. Well, it all started off when they were doing like the lawn care for Montbello with the Project Exodus, and then he started doing the community garden project with DCIS Ford when everyone was at DCIS.
Yeah,
Ford.
he's been building for so long, and now he's working with what's Elon Musk's brother? What's that guy's name? I can never remember.
Yeah, but he was talking about the
That's a
sustainable
close enough
farming.
shout out. That's all he needs.
Yeah.
Elon Musk, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's doing things very similar, and that what you said really struck me just now about sticking around. That was what he said, where the deal break, like the light bulb moment for him was when he was having a conversation with a kid, and he was trying to get him to do some extracurricular stuff and trying to build relationships with the kid, and the kid said, like, why am I going to do all this for you? Like, you're not going to be here next year.
Yeah. Yep.
And it really hit him, and he was like, oh man, this is the problem. All these saviors come in and out, and they don't build long-term relationships, because it takes a while. And I didn't realize when I first started teaching, I was like, I'm going to teach at this school for a year, and then I'm going to try out other stuff.
Yeah.
And I just fell in love with the kids, and then pretty soon you start getting to know the community, and then you're teaching siblings of kids, and the families, and you're at all the events, and pretty soon you're like, I don't know, dude, I can't imagine going anywhere else, and it's a commute for me, dude. It's out in Lakewood is where I work.
Oh, okay, that is far.
Yeah, it is, but it's just it's worth it. But I love what you said about the sticking around. That's
no, that's amazing. It's the same thing that happened for me. Like, I went into it 9-10 years ago, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna teach like 1 or 2 after school programs. I get to do acting and get a little bit of extra money, sure. And then there was a few kids that just they hit your soul, and they make jokes to you and make fun of you, and you're like, oh, I'm building something here. That you see them in the hallway when they're not your kid anymore in your class, and then they're like, hey, how's it going? I just want to give you a hug. And you're like, wow, this, like, to know that a little person can have trust in you. One of the biggest things that like has brought me warmth in my heart is just like, oh snap, That's powerful.
That's next level, right?
Yeah. Don't ever want kids, but I get that gratification from it.
The 24/7 thing could be a little overwhelming.
Yeah, a little bit.
I've talked about even in middle school. I'm glad our periods are like an hour long.
Yeah.
I love you, but
I love you.
I love you an hour. I love an hour of you. Yeah, your Instagram is so visually appealing, man.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
I mean,
I like colors.
more people, it's different media, DYFFERENT media, MEDIA. Follow
Yeah,
him.
please.
Follow. It's just like the colors on that. Have you seen that dollar? Look at that.
It's crazy.
oh yeah, I was on there
The
today.
visual, like, it's just yeah.
We have some beautiful people a part of our thing. Luckily, like that's a great part. Is that although I'm glad to say it started here, I'm not the only one with different media. So we have a beautiful visual artist, my assistant, which used to be a ninth grader I taught years ago. So it was cool to see that like relationship build. She's an amazing assistant. So shout out to everybody. And we have an enjoyable, fun new project that we have coming up in August 5th. So under this whole theme of again being interactive, we're trying to place a cookout that's going to be happening here in Colorado. The spot is going to be hopefully in it's like a warehouse / cocktail lounge, and the whole theme of it is surrounding food. So we really are trying to bring food and community together. And we have about 5 to 6 different caterers that we're looking to host the event and just have it kind of sample size for hors d'oeuvres on top of having kind of a big barbecue dinner feast for everybody that shows up. And on top of that, we're going to have games, activities, old school things that we're trying to make remixes of. So like red light, green light, but maybe call it red flags, green flags. We have a lot under the belt that we're trying to bring. And then, it's all open to the community. And yeah, we're really excited. Again, we're trying to just spotlight. So I don't want to say specifically yet because I haven't heard back from the guy that who owns it, but it's off of Pier Space. So I think it's in Hillshire, part of Colorado, I want to say. I came across it very, very accommodating across the platforms of venues here in Colorado to go inside. Price-wise as well, just to be honest. The market is crazy out here if you are trying to get a space, you guys, a venue space. They had really good prices. It holds about 100 people. So something that we've been trying to do is really keep our things, I won't say intimate, but it seems more fun when it's intimate for a lot of our events. And they have been growing, but just to hold it within a cool space like this one, I think it offers a lot of opportunities within what we can do in the space. Yeah. So I'm excited to see it build. We are just kind of getting it rolling, but please, keep a lookout.
About what time-ish?
It's going to be 5 to 9.
In what month?
August 5th. August 5th.
Okay.
End of summer.
Okay. It's the synchronicity of life sometimes too. I literally just finished a unit with my students on just on food, but we connected it to culture and we connected it to our community and to the to different families and like that's pretty dope, dude. Yeah, hey, I love thank you. Food and culture are seriously intertwined. You can't really disconnect those things.
Truly not. And we had food at our last event and everybody was like raving about it. It was delicious. We had Caribbean style food from this local restaurant out here and I didn't get a plate. And that's what really drove me to do this. I was like,
more options.
Yeah, like more options. I'm not going to miss out on this. Getting all of it.
He was like Milton in the Office Space when they were passing the cake around. He's like, I didn't get any cake last time.
Yeah, totally. Oh, that's really cool, man.
That's dope. I mean, if we can help out, that'd be something like,
hey,
please, right? I'll let you up to helping out.
Yeah, there's so many things going through my mind right now because we talked last time, and I'm like, there's so many connections too. I want to talk with you guys more about school stuff and education, and we're always looking to branch out and how we connect. And we try the
Likewise.
school I work at. We try a lot of different things. We've talked about it a lot
Yep.
on here, Pierce. Like, you know, we're working on being able to have like a barbershop there at the school.
Cool.
We have DJ Chones. Did you grow up here?
I did, yeah.
Do you know who DJ Chones is?
I do know who DJ
He's
Chones.
a teacher at the school I
Yeah,
work at.
at his school. Yeah.
Yeah,
He used to be is he still a dean? Or?
No, he became a dean,
Yeah.
and then very immediately was interested in teaching, and so got himself into a teaching position. And he teaches. He started just teaching like podcasting, which I actually taught at one point in addition to my regular English classes too, which was really fun.
Yeah.
But he's built it into like a giant department now, and there's multiple teachers, and the kids are out doing gigs in the show out in the community. They're like DJing and stuff like that. So we're really into, you know what I mean?
This
like
is crazy. You're like blowing my mind. I wish I had a school like this as a kid. Like, these are my dreams.
Me too. I know, me too. It's the same, bro. It's the same.
Cool.
But I think that it's good that we've grown like that, you know. We can see we have to
Totally.
be able to connect with these kids, you know. And I don't know how old you are, but I know when I was growing up, it was like school was a whole different ball game.
Oh, yeah.
It was get in line, behave yourself. Hey, I'm the teacher. Be quiet.
Yeah.
You know that
It's
whole.
crazy to see them like over the years strip away all of the things and make people from schools and try to just throw it in with numbers and other things. Like home ec wasn't a thing for me growing up, and I know so many people that would benefit from knowing just the simplicities of cooking from home right now.
Right.
To going to art classes, you know, the fact that they strip those things away. Now I'm seeing it come back to where like a lot of teachers are really excited for the fact that it seems like dance is a big part of schools right now, and TikTok being like a big part of that, to where the teachers and like the kids feel they can all at least find one piece to kind of express themselves. So it's crazy to see the change around. I hope it keeps building that way, you know, that the schools keep letting these programs in and letting art and other ways to just kind of, I think, identify as being more of a person than a number or a system that you have to work towards.
A one size fits all.
Speaking of the TikTok thing, did you guys recently see in the news about Montana? The state of Montana has banned TikTok.
What is that? Like
The
from all
state of
devices?
Montana
How can they manage that?
So there has something in their bill says that any of the app stores that offers the device that offers the app to people that are in residence of Montana will get like fined like $10,000 for every day that it's up there or whatever like that. So so Montana was like one of the first that pushed that through to ban TikTok.
Where was that balloon that everybody was saying was a Chinese balloon? Or whatever?
Wasn't it like above Montana?
That's what I was wondering. I'm wondering if like these things are connected. I don't know. I don't know.
Seeing dots.
It was above the total country, right? But a lot of people saw it in Montana, and then
Yeah, interesting.
yeah,
That's wild.
Yeah, that
Right?
is super crazy.
I saw that on the news. I was like, oh man.
I wonder how long that will last.
I know. Yeah. I can't imagine it's gonna stick. But maybe. You never know.
Right? What are you doing time for? TikTok. I was dancing in my room.
They'll never stop me.
They'll never stop me.
I don't know. Do you guys ever watch? Did you ever watch Dave on FX? About
seen
Dave
Dave.
Bird, the rapper Little Dicky.
Yeah.
You ever seen that show, Dave? Okay, so
No, I haven't seen the show, but I know the rapper.
okay, so like recently, like one of this season, one of his fans that always goes like to his shows was like that one. He offered to take her to like another show in another state, and so they went to go pick her up. And turns out like her family's like super Christian, and like and just like bans everything, and like they made her delete TikTok and everything off of her phone because the Lord doesn't sees that stuff as foolery, tomfoolery. So
I love how people speak on behalf of the Lord all the time.
Yeah, I was like, the Lord didn't know TikTok would exist,
Yeah,
right? Like,
he doesn't
show
approve of
me
those things. Wait, no, it doesn't say anywhere.
show me the verse in
No,
the
God
Bible.
told me. God said to me, no TikTok.
Right. Last night he came to me.
Dude, any people that think that they have the answers are lying to you 100%.
Yeah. It's funny because I get that from a lot of the kids at the schools. They're like, oh no, they want to obviously push back before anything they can. Like, I know everything that there is to know about this game because I've played it. Although you're telling me the instructions, so I don't know because I never played it. And it's like, the biggest part to let them know is that, hey, the first note of being a great human being is that you don't know anything. It changes like in an instant. One moment, everybody knew that like we were the only planet in the solar system, and then a star popped up and they were like, oh shit, that's another planet. So anytime I'm like, guys, just please don't get head over heels over these things, especially on devices. Like, there's so many things that I feel are easily constructed to make you believe that specific world that they're trying to at least narrate to you.
For sure.
Yeah,
it is scary watching the whole thing, like just seeing how, I don't know. It's like we've talked about it here on the show, how it's like this relationship that kids, because I have 3 kids. So this relationship that kids have with these corporations and these influencers and these whoever's out there that's in their ear and in their eyes all the time. And it's like, and my kids are older, so I'm not like breathing down their neck. I got a kid he's buying a truck right now. He's 17 years old.
Give him that freedom.
Yeah. It's hard to know. The good thing for me is recently we've started kind of getting on to the fact that keeping the kids involved, like doing what they do, and they all have different personalities. Like Jay is a big football guy and into sports, and Jilly's into sports and likes volleyball and stuff. And then her youngest, she's super artsy. She loves creating art. She she's a thespian naturally. She loves cosplay and all that kind of stuff, and letting them express themselves. But when you really like invest in those things, I find they put the phone down more. And I think, obviously for when she's recording her cosplay, she's definitely got the phone, you know what I mean? But like it's the social interaction too, like getting involved with other people doing similar things and stuff like that keeps them busy. And because I see it all the time as a teacher where you have that old school mentality where you're like, I need this student to do X, Y, Z. So I'm just going to crack down. Like, you're going to do it. There's going to be consequences. Do it. And then the truth is what I've learned in the few years of teaching is like immediately they'll do what you want if you build the relationship and you connect with them, and then you help them understand why it's important to do this, and then you put it in their court and literally don't be attached to whether they do it or they don't do it. You let go, and most of the time you're going to find that the kids are going to do stuff like that. And it's the same with these kids. Like, they're into football and they're into all this stuff. They still get on their phones. There's still times where I'm watching going, oh boy, we've been on that too long. But giving them the freedom, because otherwise, what am I going to do? Follow them around the rest of their life and like
exactly
to manage? Like,
no.
Do you want to be
not possible?
One of those people off of those infomercials that are like, my kid is addicted to Instagram. I have a lawsuit out right now,
and I'm here to talk to you about it.
Yeah, I'm here to talk to you.
Do you have a loved one that?
It's everywhere. The media, the social aspect, everything. Like nowadays, I don't know if you've been to a gym recently since working at 24 or anything, but even at gyms now, man, there's tripods everywhere.
You guys have been talking about that.
People are just filming themselves working out and just like the different things, like in little nooks and crannies. I've seen like even like in the workout rooms, you can see like girls making TikToks and stuff like that, like all those dances and everything. And you're just like, okay, they've infiltrated the gym now.
I already assume I'm in at least probably 30 people's videos.
Yeah.
Just the back of my head somewhere walking past.
Or you're that, or like you're like me, and you're that awkward person, and like you saw a camera, and like in the corner of your eye, and then you look, and you're like, oh yeah, that's a camera. Oh, they're recording me. I'm looking at them.
I'm going to be so noticeable in this video if I just had walked by.
This is one of the fitness competitors at the 24 that I worked out at. I remember I was like scrolling through, and I was like looking on scrolling through Instagram, and I just like saw one of her videos up, and she was posing, and there I am like legit like military pressing like in the background, just like I'm like I can't get out of this video. Sorry, I'm working out here. Like,
it's who would have seen this coming, dude? It's so crazy. Like if you went back to like the 1990s, trying to imagine that people would just be setting up photo shoots. I told you when we were in Hawaii, and we were like walking down the beach in the morning, and there was a chick there with like a full setup. She had like
the ring and everything, probably.
Bro, she
like,
had
need the ring
because it was
outside?
early. Yeah. I'm like, the whole point is you're
natural
out
lighting.
here. Yeah, it's beautiful out here. But yeah, it's really crazy to me. Honestly, what I felt when I saw it was like sadness. I was like, this is your connection to people? It's like you're by yourself on a beach with a camera and doing takes 100 times. She was like twirling around, and that was what the part that made me sad. Is she was like,
she wasn't enjoying it with anybody else.
there was that too, but it looked as if like she was trying to make it look natural, like almost like someone else was filming her, or you just caught, this camera just caught this moment, and you watch her do the same dance and twirl like 3 times, and you're just like, I'm like, my heart hurts for you. Like,
Tony felt like walking over there and grabbing the camera. I'll do it for you.
I'll hold it for you. Yeah, I get chewed out. I'd probably get chewed out.
I find it crazy, this thought of authenticity on social media and being authentic, because in some ways I'm like, we're always authentic. It's how you present yourself, and to that degree, but in that same sense, it's like you're trying to show how authentic and how fun you are right now, but you're trying 37 times. And as an actor and who does stuff that goes over lines, at some point you get out of the thrill of it, and you're trying to just get some kind of product. So that it's really crazy to think. For me, I've had to like switch my mindset, because for one, social media has become, I don't know, just not as fun as it used to be as far as just sharing. So, and within wanting to still be in the system of enjoying it and finding things, I've even kind of limited myself to, if I'm enjoying myself, I'm having like a great time, I'm really in the moment, I'm having fun, find a moment where, you can be by yourself and take one picture to capture it, to hold it there, because I still believe that should be captured. But for people that are like, hey man, come on, let's all get up in here, I'm just, it's not, I can't get behind that.
So I feel the same exact way, because like back in the day, you'd go to concerts, right? I always remember you go to Red Rocks and you like 311 concert, or some big concert, and you're always there like, like you said, like, let's go, come on guys, come on, click, and then you're like recording the whole like song playing like on your phone.
Dude, you're out of the moment.
You're out of the moment. And then like it came to me, like I was sitting there, and I remember it was like I was doing that one time, and I look over, and I was actually at a concert with Patty. We're at 311, and I remember looking over, and he was just enjoying the music, and I was like, I'm an asshole. What am I doing? Let's just put this down, dude. Let's put this thing down. And so now, same thing. I make it a point to take a picture of us, like, hey guys, we're here. Mm-hmm. Let's take this picture. We're at the concert. But then after that, the music, man, enjoying the show. Even if it's not just like the music, but enjoying like the show, being a part of it, just like
the whole moment, the friends you're with, the vibe in the air.
People, I think, get just too caught up in trying to make it look perfect that they're like,
No, again,
extra takes. And you have all these things to choose from. It's like, one will be fine, whether I look like a goofy ass motherfucker or the prettiest man in the room. The picture's gonna stay.
And I remember looking at that too, like when I, back in the days, when you go through your camera roll and you're like, that's the same picture. That's the same picture. That's the same picture.
What's the difference?
It's like, what? Why can't I just take one picture and be done? I don't have to have a million pictures of 311 like on the stage
from the same perspective, same angle, same everything.
No, it's a different song. Click.
Oh, the lighting changed. That is crazy. I like the way you put it and the way you were describing it too, of like, you take a picture for memory, take a picture or a short video, say hi everybody, and you leave it alone. Because what I've started finding is I get great enjoyment, like, because the social media sends the dopamine and everything when you're doing it. So one of the things, I try different strategies to keep myself from just defaulting to that all the time. And I found that like my photo album or going to my Google Photos is super enjoyable to me because those are videos and they're things no one sees. They're not on any social media. It's for me. I might text them to my family chain, my kids and my wife. Totally. And be like, oh guys, remember this 3 years ago when we did this thing? And to me, that is super fun. And it takes out that whole like the whole like thing and all the
Yeah.
capturing the moment, and then you realize like, oh, you're putting this thing up there, and it's weird because I would think consciously about it and then still find myself doing it. You know what I mean? You're still taking multiple pictures and like, oh, that was not the lighting, so do it with the other side. I can't see your guys. You know, it's like meanwhile we're missing out on all the cool shit that's all around us that we're trying to capture digitally, so we can look at it later and remember how we weren't in the moment.
Right. Plus, I've been caught up in too much inadvertent, like just messy situations from social media. And that's it's crazy. It's crazy. And it's unfortunate, but sometimes those like small narratives, someone can, you know, click on you or tag you in a picture, builds a whole nother world for somebody else that sometimes you know, sometimes you don't know, sometimes they tell you about it, sometimes they don't. And you're like, hey, I'd just rather, you know, everybody have peace. Peace has been, I'll say, since COVID, or since like quarantine time and COVID we're living through it. I can't say it's over, but I've been trying to focus on soft life, a nice little new world as I have envisioned it, as far as being just anything that brings you joy, anything that brings more just calmness, serenity to your life. Lay into it, lean into it, fall into it, because I for 2022 it just seemed like it was go, don't stop, you gotta do this, you gotta get all these things done. And it was like, oh gosh, burnout's real. I literally had a situation earlier this year where like I got so fed up and stressed with something so small, like it came down to something that it was an inconvenience, but it was something that I didn't need to make my whole world. And I don't know why I'm talking such Morse code. So I was trying to get a rent-a-car, because I needed it for the time, and I had made the reservation. I had gone in to grab the rent-a-car, and they're like, but you also have to pay like $300 on top of your reservation for the car. And I was like, oh, well, I didn't know that, blah, blah, blah. I was like, fine, sure, let me go through with it. Things came up to where I couldn't get it that day, and I ended up calling the people, and they're like, well, basically you're out of $500. All the money you put down on your car, we can't give you back, and you're not getting a rent-a-car. And so I was like, bro, shit, I needed this. So I was hella pissed. You know, I took that out and then took a nap, woke up, and I couldn't move. Like my back had tightened up to the point I was stuck there. I was like, anywhere I moved just brought utter pain to my whole body. And I was like, oh, well, I don't know how I get rid of this. So I had like, for the next 48 hours, I was basically stuck in bed trying to find ways of doing like yoga poses, stretching, trying to stretch my back out until I could go to a chiropractor who popped all these areas in my back and was like, yeah, man, it wasn't anything like serious, nothing too crazy. You just had stress, and you had a crazy moment of stress where all that like
muscles just tensed
up, and they went numb on you. And then he was like, whatever you keep doing, wherever you're going, he was like, practice like easy things that are gonna calm you down, because you can't keep going. And obviously having like 48 hours of not moving, I was like, oh my gosh.
It was 48 hours.
48 hours, like at least for 24, it was me crawling around trying to get to the bathroom, me going back and just laying on my back. Geez. I couldn't like watch TV because I was like, why put my head up? That hurts. So it was definitely a great time to be alone and find gratitude in the very small things that I did have. And I was like, well, if I do get through this, you know, if I can find the ways to walk and get back my mobility, well, then I'm just going to cherish that. And I'm going to find like, fuck a car. I'm just glad I can walk right now. So like going through that kind of whole phase, it was definitely a time for me. And I was like, I'm just going to, everything that's soft, I'm going into. Everything that brings me joy, I'm going into. I started doing like a writer's workshop with these beautiful and incredible group of talented people called Colored People, and they do kind of workshop / community building and events here in Colorado. And the whole like writer's piece was a group of creatives, and in some sense what I thought going into it, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go in here, I'm going to find some topics. It's going to lead to a production or me being able to, use this in some kind of monetizing way. And it was the total opposite. I went in there and we talked about trust and honesty and feelings and what it was to talk to your like shadow work and other things. And I was like, this was exactly what I needed. I didn't need a project to then go back into and start hustle, capitalism, all those other things. I needed time to just, be in my own head, work through things that have been stressing me out, things that I've been trying to just, I think, hold on to for too long. That was like, let them go. It's totally fine. You can write them down. You could put them in a poem. You could make a rap about it, whatever it is. But then at least, you can at least say you got to deal with it and talk to it. And yeah, it's been like a way more gratifying time since then too.
So like stuff like this, like people that are going through the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Having those difficult times or you need a kind of outlet. How do people find things like this, like these workshops and all those kind of things? Like, is it a simple Google search or what is it?
I wish I could say it was. I have been blessed to have like a good sense of community around me, and just places I've gone, I've been able to make really good connections. And I would say for some of these are just connections out of the years in the making. So specifically for this one, like colored people, a lot of them are graduates of DSA, Denver School of the Arts. And I've been in that community for like 12, 13 years.
Okay.
And through my old company at the Black Actors Guild to them just, being a very creative group of people that have wanted to continue that into their own adulthood. And if anything, I'll say if my biggest thing is just go outside. Like for me, it was, hey, let me go to some improv nightclubs, some stand-up comedy clubs, figure out the environment. You kind of gear towards people that are like-minded, I think, of you, or at least start those conversations. And then, for me, it was just like, I'm very single right now, so I have no reason to say no to these things. Yeah. And it's been a great time to be like, I'm not looking to get into anything but things that make me feel like I'm supposed to be there. Like I'm working towards something, that I'm trying to put another foot or placement into the world. And they've been beautiful places and spaces. So it's been like a gracious time.
Okay.
Yeah. That deeper meaning in like what you're doing, having some kind of purpose that fulfills your soul too. Yeah.
I think too, like we run into people that are just like our sacred crew, I'm sure like you two are just bonded for life in ways.
100%.
Yeah.
People always crack up every single time I describe Tony. They're like, who? I was like, he's my hetero life mate. Exactly. Tony is my hetero life mate.
Yeah, exactly. And you just have those people that's like every time, no matter what you're going through, you find ways that you connect and you come back to them and you find those. And they just, I think communities continue to build. And that's what I've been figuring out too. Like I have a friend named James Brunt, and he does a lot of theater acting. I mean, he's equity, so man's getting the big bucks. And so like having him as a friend and all the cool things he's introduced me to, like he does shows, or he's the director of and facilitates classes at MSU for some of the college kiddos over there. And like through him, I've seen some really cool, not equity work, but theater come from those schools that I would have never known about, and just plays and events that I've just been introduced to. Also, like there's yoga out here where they do like a smoking yoga session where you get a little high before, and then you go into the yoga session. It gets really intense. Afterwards, you get food. And
bro, this sounds like my kind of yoga session, Pierce.
Yes, it's put on by this wonderful lady named Jules. She goes by Besso Jules or Jules Bessos, one of the two. And like just cool interactive things that I would have not known about unless I just happened to have people there. I was like, yo, what do you do? I think that's the biggest thing, just asking people what they do, because a lot of people, they do regular jobs, they get through the 9 to 5, and I think that's something like to hold like much grace for it. But I think outside of that is where you have much more potential and you show who you truly are. Is if like the work outside of that time, if you find something that's you're passionate enough to, that makes you want to keep doing that shit. You know, I think it's just like working out, going to the gym.
Yeah.
It's definitely a chore. It's a choice.
Yeah.
You don't have to go if you don't want to. But if you do, I think it shows that you have a passion. You have something that pulls you more outside of it that you want to see better in yourself. Mentally, physically, all those things.
I mean, that is like a good point, you know, to talk to people, to ask questions, you know, to see what they do. Because it's funny because whenever I still mention like podcasts, you know, or in a group of people and I'm like, yeah, I do a podcast. And they're like, what? Like you do a podcast?
Yeah.
You?
I'm like,
what?
yeah, bro. I've been doing this podcast for years. We got thousands of subscribers.
Yeah.
Like
You don't know?
we have thousands. Wait a second. Let me look on this. You do not follow the Mike and Tony show. You asshole.
If only we could track individuals like that.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, I think I've always been like that my whole life. Is I never. You mentioned with like the capitalism thing. There's like so many of these ideas in our head that we just don't question. You know, we go out in pursuit of whatever. But to me, it always comes down to like my whole life. I felt like, honestly, growing up in Fresno and like growing up with my family, it was like everyone wanted to beat out of you your creativity. That idea of like lead with your mind, not your heart. And for me, it's just natural. I've always been like that. Like lead with your heart. Like even when we started this podcast, right? It was like, why are you starting a podcast? Like, I don't know. I want to make one.
Yeah.
It just sounds fun. I just think it's cool.
not?
And yeah, why not? We're just going to sit around and talk. And it's been one of the greatest things. Speaking of asking people questions, and that's that's what we love about this podcast is having people on and just digging into people's lives and like what makes people tick. And particularly we like having people do interesting things, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
But I honestly find, especially doing this show, is like I find that there's interesting in every single human being. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
Like have a janitor come on. We'll just talk about
Yes.
being a janitor.
I know.
And there's so much in that. And that's kind of back to what you were saying about like leaning into the soft and like really like taking care of yourself. That's one of the reasons I've always been so into Buddhism is because it's that idea. I always talk about the example of like, speaking of which, a janitor mopping the floor. And it's like, there's so much in that moment. Like when you're standing there with the mop and you're mopping the floor and we just overlook the present moment so frequently and you don't realize like, oh, this is so beautiful. And it helps me. The ideas behind Buddhism and like meditations and like mostly being present in the moment and feeling your breath and being aware of it has gone so far for me in teaching because I teach at a school. It's crazy, bro. And I feel like I feel like I'm in the middle of a roller coaster sometimes, but there's something so cool about just being able to breathe in it and find that calm moment while everything around you is just like pure chaos. And you realize the moment never leaves. You leave the moment. The moment's always there for the taking. Like to just be present and to look around and like, what am I experiencing? I love that. And that comes back to the kids too. Like that's why we do so much meditation practices and stuff like that. So.
It's crazy you mentioned that because we just had this lady. She runs Toonfo 2, which is a martial arts organization out here in Colorado. They started in Detroit. I want to say in like the 1970s. Basically, their model of martial arts sounds like anime. How they've described it, like crazy moves that lead to broken bones where you're like, oh, all right, I guess. But yeah, we had them in our space and they're teaching our kids. And one of the big parts is like, they call it power movement because, and they describe how power is different from strength and they break it down. But basically she was teaching our kids patience and how to deal with breathing. And the way she did this was with these rods. She had like 5 rods and she put us in a semicircle and she's holding them and she's like, all right, all I want you to do is catch the rod when I throw it to you. Now, I want you to catch it. I don't want you to flinch. If you flinch, you didn't do it right. So she's going through, she's faking out a few people. People are flinching. People are like, not catching it right. And she's like, oh, what are you doing wrong? Kind of breaking it down, trying to figure out like, what are we going into? And she's going through and basically the things that are coming up are kids are feeling anxious. They don't want it to hit them. They don't know when the timing's coming. And she's like, hey, that's life. Things are always
what a metaphor for life, for sure.
She's like, things are always coming at you. The only thing you have control over, and the reason that I have power over you is because you're not being patient and you're not breathing. Because if you're breathing, you're taking away all the power I have over you and you're giving it to yourself.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah. So another thing is you're not waiting for the rod to come at you, because then you're anticipating it. You're adding anxiety to yourself. She's like, be patient. If you're patient and focus on your breathing, whenever the rod comes, you'll know what to do. You'll figure it out. You'll be like, oh, it's within me. The distance comes. So, hey.
What a great metaphor.
Yeah, no, I was literally wanting to take notes on the side of class. Like, these are good ass lessons I need to be practicing.
Yeah.
So yeah, just like those moments, that just speaking to your point of, it's super impactful, I think, to have breath. That's one thing as an actor I've always been super grateful to have learned so early, is that breath is so important for how you speak, to how you can deliver, to how you can like hold a presence of what you want and just like be in your own mind, be clear.
For sure.
It's a powerful thing.
And as a singer too, obviously. For me, that's a big thing.
You know what's wild about that too is like, even when working out, breathing is such a huge thing. I remember that too, I remember when I was going through the whole notion of do you remember June?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So me and June were talking one day about, we had found that crazy fact that you're breathing through one nostril at a time.
Oh yeah.
So when you're breathing through your nose, it's only one nostril at a time, right? And you don't know when it switches. It just randomly switches. It'll just randomly switch on it. And so I was more curious I got down the road about breathing, about breath and everything like that. And on my journey to learning about breathing, exercising and working out and stuff like that, and just in general, there's this book called Breath. And it was one of my Facebook friends had told me to read it. And it's the art of breathing through your nose. On how to manage that and how it is like a world of wonder, basically, of bringing the calm to your life, being in the moment, being able to decimate stress from anything that you're doing with just a simple breath.
So true.
And it's crazy because, I got that book, like, I think on my Kindle, and just like read it. And I was like, oh my gosh, dude. And so like, just like breathing in and when you breathe in, you take that extra breath and then you expel it.
Hold almost.
Yeah. So when you breathe in, you're breathing in through your nose and you go, but you breathe and you bring in the extra breath of your mouth.
Okay.
Well,
then you're expunging all the carbon from your body.
Yeah. That's like me taking a hit. No, but truly, you know what? That actually is a big part of like Wim Hof's breathing method.
Yeah.
Is that you really, you just fill your lungs as much as you can. And I love just breathing, there's so many different ways to breathe.
Yeah.
And I think this will be like, I don't know, 20 episodes in a row. I can work in my cold plunge because I started cold plunging recently and I can't shut up about it. I love it so much. But
this episode of the Mike and Tony Show is brought to you by Tony's Cold Plunge.
What is it? Neurocover or something like that. I can't remember.
Tony, they're not paying us. Don't tell them.
I purposely messed up the name. I'm one step ahead of you. But breathing is huge, and I've talked about it on the podcast. But it's like the first 30 seconds.
Yeah,
that is the panic zone. Like when I first get in the cold water, the first 30 seconds, I'm freaking out. Like I can't get control of my thoughts. I need to get out of this water. And the breath is what gets me through. I just start taking really big, deep breaths and getting in touch. And then by the time I hit about 30 seconds, I'm chill. So and then I can just kind of get through, but I still continue breathing the whole time. And I think that's part of why it's addictive for me, is because it forces me into the moment. Like there's no way around it. I'm like sitting in this ice cold water, just dying to get out of it, and that I'm just focused on that moment. And I told Mike I always have my timer so that when it gets down to 30 seconds, it shuts off and I can't see it. So that last 30 seconds, you're just like, and it's so weird how 2.5 minutes will fly by, and then 30 seconds is just like Did I mess up my timer? Is it actually going to go off? What if my battery died? You're just going through these things in your head, like I'm not going to make it. But yeah, but breathing is so impactful in so many ways, in so many different parts of our life, and it's underrated. It's like something we don't talk about when we talk about health nearly enough.
I know I was spotting this again, talking about the gym. I was spotting this kid. He asked me to help him on his bench, and he was doing 135 on the bench, 245s. And I was like, all right. I was like, how many are we doing? He goes, oh, this is the most that I've ever done. It's like some little high school kid. And I was like, okay, all right, let's do this, man. And so he was going, and he pulled it down, and I'm like looking at him. His face is red. I go, breathe, bro, breathe.
Oh yeah,
breathe, bro. And he finally breathed, but I had to pull it up. I was like, okay. I was like, give it a couple minutes, Brood. I was like, when you're doing it, I was like, when you're coming down, and then when you're ready to push it. Push everything up, push everything up, push everything out.
Yeah.
I was like, breathe, bro. I was like, you're about to pass out there. Your face is so red. I was like,
you see that with deadlifts a lot too.
But the next time I did it, I was like, when I was coaching him on his way down. I was
Look
like,
at you.
I was like, okay. He's like, breathe.
Nice.
And I was like, out, push. And he pushed right up.
Oh,
so
yeah, that's awesome. No, it's definitely tied in. I got lucky and I was lucky enough to stumble upon a Tai Chi class in college years ago, and then fell in love with that too. But that, for me, that forever connected movement with breathing. And then so later when I started getting more into lifting weights, it sort of came naturally with when to breathe and when not to.
I had kind of the same, I'll say I was the same issue as your friend. I used to not know when to breathe out, and my coach used to always be like, breathe out, dude. Breathe. Come on. Let's breathe out. He's like, you can use your breath. It's there to help you. Same with like bending the knees. I used to always just have them locked. And I was like, oh, gosh. hurting myself.
So breathing, though, for acting, super important?
It's, I can say probably number one most important thing you can do. Just because, like, if you can't breathe, it's usually how you set the tone for your character, set the voice, everything you want to go into. So I guess like I can go into Fronzo's tidbits of acting facts.
Love it. Did I tell you last time you were here? I was giant in theater when I was in like high school.
Really?
I was obsessed with theater. Yeah.
What? Any plays? Any plays you get out there?
Oh man, it's been so long. What was The Curious Savage?
Okay.
Oh, this is terrible. I can't think of anything. We used to go to like monologue competitions and everything. I remember I did
Shakespeare Festival.
Yeah, we did that too. I did a monologue one time from A Time to Kill? What's that one with Matthew McConaughey, the lawyer?
A Time to Kill.
Yeah, Time to Kill. I did his monologue.
Okay.
I remember doing that. Like there were so many different things.
Love it.
Yeah, lots of comedies. I was always a comedic actor, and I hated. And ironically, because I love playing guitar and writing, I never liked musical theater. Which is, I don't know why. I just did it, and I feel like
it makes sense, man.
Yeah, it really doesn't make sense.
No, I feel that I grew up the same way as far as musical theater being like, I just don't get how you're normal, and then you want to start singing out of it.
Yeah. Like what happened?
Yeah.
What?
But then in my normal life, I'm like, I sing all around my house. Baby life is a musical.
Yeah.
But yeah, like for me, I would say the same way. I love theater since I was a little kid, but I didn't like traditional theater. I wanted to build stories and like create them myself. And like in high school, obviously they just have Shakespeare and everything else that you have to go through. So I started off with like improv and sketch comedy was really cool to me because that gives you just the range, to do what you want and think on the fly. And as a younger kid, I hated writing. I despised it. It was really not that I wasn't good at it.
The discipline of it.
Yeah, the discipline of sitting down and taking all these thoughts and putting them on paper. I was like, this is gross.
Yeah.
So then I finally like grew into it. But my first actual play was a musical, and I was like the main villain. And it was funny because the main villain never got off stage, so he was in the whole play, and he had like 3 songs that I sang. And I was it's funny because I did it in 8th grade. Our director was my middle school math teacher, and she low-key loved me. Like, we had a really great relationship. I was like her teacher's aide before that year went. So I didn't even audition for the play because I was like, I personally didn't want to do it. I was like, this is whack. It's a musical. And so I come in the next day after rehearsals, and she had given me the part of the villain because she knew I liked acting. And she was like, no, I'm going to force you to do it. And I was like, all right, cool.
That's dope.
Yeah. This night before we open, we're going through rehearsals, and I still had like 5 pages I was not off book on. And so I was feeling like
stressed.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not gonna know this tomorrow. We got to do the performance in front of not only like 2 classes of kids, but then the parents afterwards. So I was like, I don't know how this is gonna work. Day of the show comes. Somehow that night before, I memorized all my lines. I don't know what I did. I went to a memory bank of I'm a real thespian.
I just blacked out.
Yeah, I was like, started shaking. And then, next day, went through the first 2 shows, perfect, knew all the cues, knew all the songs. I had like a fake mustache because obviously I couldn't grow hair, so it just curled up. It's very French. It was very French. And then for the night play, I got ice cream before our show, and ice cream is a killer to your voice.
Yes.
The dairy.
Yes,
Yeah,
dairy.
Yep.
It's just terrible. And so halfway through the show, my voice just like
Phlegmed up.
cracked. It
Oh,
was
cracked.
gone. It was done. I couldn't
Blew
say
it out.
another
It was blown
word.
out.
Yeah, I couldn't say another word for the entire rest of the show that was actually that you could hear.
And
or
not
audible.
mic'd, I'm assuming.
This was early 2000s, so yeah, we didn't have mics like that. We weren't that kind of cool school. But yeah, for like my first show to be a musical and to go through that, I learned a lot. So one of the tidbits of facts that they came from was always like care about your voice, speak from the diaphragm, so you're not putting the strain on your actual vocal cords up there.
Right.
And then I would say the second part would be body, like you were kind of talking about, like an actor knowing his body. And what I like to do is start with like feet up. So feet are the first thing that hit the ground, first thing that you're touching. So kind of thinking about that and working up your body. That's why I think for a lot of actors, I know at DSA, I believe they teach you to kind of build your character from the ground up. So you start with their socks, then their shoes, and you can kind of build who this new representation of a person is, because, it's not supposed to be you. It's supposed to be, small little things that you bring to the character, but a whole nother kind of dynamic to it. So that's a tidbit that like I like to do when I go into character work, is really just think about who this character is, what are the ways that they are totally different from me, and then the ways that I feel I can bring small essence of like my own character to it. For that, I don't know. I get mad when my kids are always like, yeah, acting is just lying, bro. I'm like,
Wow.
it's not. All right. It's emotions. You're breaking into your feelings of yourself and another person. You're being empathetic. It's not lying.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we have fun. We have fun in the theater realm.
So at what point did you find yourself, at some point did you get serious about being disciplined about writing?
Yes,
Or did it happen gradually, maybe?
I'll say I'm still finding my discipline with writing. Like, I love to find different areas of writing, but for me, I really have to feel, I would say, like, emotionally charged behind it, encouraged behind whatever I'm writing, or I just lose whatever like dedication I want to have. But yeah, I think it really it started when I stopped wanting to just use all my good words and lines on women. I was like, they're just not the text messages that I'm forming, all the words that I'm putting together, they're not serving me. They're not giving me any great foundation or purpose. So I was like, let me put these into an art craft. Let me try to figure out ways that I can express myself. And yeah, I think it's just been sparked from that. Like, if anything, it's been romanticizing the time that I have in the life that I have so far. And with that, I think words are a lot easier to express. So currently, like, I'm even trying to write with my co-worker, or I should say partner in my company / best friend. trying to do a screenplay and we're trying to write a movie. So it's been really cool to like put time and to romanticize a whole new world. And we started off with it trying to be like a bad movie. We were just like, hey, let's sit down and write something that's terrible and just show that we can do it. And then the concept became really fun to us. And now we're like, well, maybe it could be a great movie.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I think that's where my inspiration has come, is just always having the thought of what can we build and what kind of world can we make, that I think we don't always live in right now, but it's fun to play in the mind and like create those for yourselves. And also I think the fact that like acting, when you really get down to the nuts and bolts of it, it's not going to be something that pays you unless you get to that next level. And even then they're looking for somebody that does so much more than acting,
right,
you know? And I think just having that moment of growing up and being like, well, I got to put my talents in other places. So like I love writing, directing, has been another suit of mine. I think if anything, kind of being behind the camera a lot more and taking the time, and then just finding the right moments that it seems right to like be on stage. I've been doing a lot of more performer based pieces where they kind of just give me a full costume and kind of no words, and more immersive theater gigs of that nature. I had one actually last month. 420. It was on 420. It was
nice.
I was like, that one. Remember, some date was important for me. It was at the L's called
Ellie Calkin.
Ellie Calkin. Thank you. Ellie Calkin Opera House. And it was for all the ballerina/ballerinos. They were having a gala and presenting a new thing, and I was wearing a big camera.
I saw that today, actually. Yeah. I was looking at those cameras. I actually was thinking a lot about the costume design on that, and like where those came from. Were they built from scratch?
They were built from scratch. Yeah, so they were built from Handsome Little Devils. They are. I think they're local. Yeah, they are local. They I've worked a few shows with them. They have really cool, not only costumes, but they build like immersive worlds kind of that they bring out there. So this wasn't the first time they had the camera heads, but this was the first time they actually debuted them in Colorado, because the last time they had them, I think, was on like, I think they said Saturday Night Live, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they had, and they had this whole spiel that they do with them. But yeah, you're basically a walking cameraman, part of the paparazzi, and they got little lights that work. And we were running down this pink runway for all the ballerinos showing up, giving them all their due credit.
And for our listeners, could you give out his name on Instagram one more time?
Who? Oh,
Fronzo.
No, it's Fronzo Gilkey, but it's
That's all it is.
Fronzo.Dominique.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I knew it was something a little different, just because, so that if you want to go take a look at this, it's pretty interesting. These cameras are giant on you guys' heads.
Wild. And
were they heavy?
I was going to say, they weren't that heavy. They had a little fan in there, so they kept you cool. They did get a little foggy just because you start sweating and you can't see through the lens a little bit.
Can you imagine just wearing that during the pandemic? This is my mask, bro.
Hey.
You got to let me get on the airport. On the airplane.
Well, it was funny. It was like, well, when I was looking at it, like I instantly thought, like when you did post this, back in the day, I instantly thought of like the Masked Singer. And I was like, Fronzo over here on the Masked Singer over here.
Oh, I know.
With this mask on. And then I also thought about like Daft Punk.
Yeah.
And now that you're saying it had a fan in it, like, because Daft Punk, they have like fans in their helmets and all that stuff too. So that's cool, man. Yeah, were they functioning cameras, or they were just
weren't functioning?
But the light worked, the flash worked.
The flash worked. Cool. A lot of people thought they worked, and they were like, "Yeah, can you email them?"
Oh, people,
but yeah, so they were like, I would say like 5 pounds or so. We wore them for about an hour and a half. I'll say once we got to the hour and a half, I was like, all right.
I was gonna say, was your neck sore?
Afterward? Yeah. Afterwards, it was a little tender, but no. Otherwise, it was a really fun event, and yeah, they were putting on all kinds of cool like productions like that. I also got to do thing for Meow Wolf last summer. It was called their Vortex. It was during their outdoor concert festival that was going on. It was a 3-day festival, and each day I got to be a different character that they had for the performer. So one day I was like a rain god that was wearing all purple, decked out in this huge ass top hat. Another day I had on like a bug mask, and I was rocking that for the whole night. And yeah, I'll say the characters I've been able to play, I am nowhere short of like enthused by them all.
That is so fun.
Have you been to
dude.
Meow Wolf yet?
I have, dude.
Yeah.
That place is wild.
Yeah.
Wild. Dude.
It's trippy.
And then after I went in there, because I had heard about it and stuff, and every time people would explain it to me, it was like a big question mark. I was like, I don't quite understand what you're saying. And so then I was like, I got to go see this for myself.
Yeah.
Went and saw it, took the kids, my wife came and everything. And then we went, and then suddenly I was like, oh, this is why you can't explain it. Like, I can't explain. This is like a dream. Like, I felt like I was in a dream for a while. It was wild.
Yeah.
And you should go see it. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty, that's dope, dude. I love that. I love hearing about someone like you that's out there doing these things, because like we talked about, it's so common, the traditional theater, traditional everything.
Yeah.
And I love when artists are pushing the limits, and I love that teacher mind of yours seems to come in a lot, where it's like interacting with the people, as opposed to in education, we call it sit and get, where the teacher's just talking at you and you're taking notes or whatever, versus like that interaction between people and that relationship between the audience and the performer and stuff. That is dope, bro.
Thanks.
This is why we have interesting people on here. I was trying to remember what his album was. Do you remember? I can't remember what his album was for the question. We always ask when you come on the first time. We always ask the question of, on a desert island, what's your album? And I was trying to remember what it was.
I don't even remember. Yeah.
I can't say myself. It's probably changed.
What would it be now?
I would say, right now.
I'm gonna so laugh if it's the same one.
I know, right? I'm gonna go back.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Of course you said that. I would say if I had to be on an album, desert album, it would be Frank Ocean. I'm gonna do Orange. Channel Orange. Yeah.
I really feel like it was Frank Ocean.
It might have been. It really might have been.
I don't think it was Orange though.
Write it down.
Yeah, I'm gonna write it down. For sure. Because I know that I'll forget.
Well, now you gotta ask him the modified question that you asked last week.
Should I lower the number from 5 to 3?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so I'm going to do that. So we have a new tradition that we're adding on. So you're on a desert island. You have everything you need. Now you got your album. You're listening to Orange by Frank Ocean. 3 people can come with you.
Alive or dead?
Alive or dead. They can be anybody. It could be family. It could be Bob Marley.
Okay. Jeez.
Let me restate that. It can be Bob Marley. That would be my go-to.
Okay. So 3 people. Taking my best friend, because I gotta have jokes. I gotta have someone to get me through that time. I'm taking Charles Barkley.
Interesting choice.
That's terrible. That's a terrible.
Terrible.
And I'm taking Janet Jackson.
Oh,
Janet Jackson's
That's a good one.
Miss Jackson, if you're nasty.
I would be so
Jackson if you're nasty.
I'd be so curious how Barkley and Janet Jackson would get along.
It don't matter because this is Fronzo's people.
Yeah. We're gonna have a great time. This is gonna be my auntie, Uncle Charles.
Uncle Charles. It's terrible. They got a big women's in San Antonio.
Oh, that's so funny. So now it's complicated because remember it was so easy for me.
Yeah.
Because it was 5 people what we did, but I think that's a lot. You're trying to sort through 5 people in your life or whatever, or 5 people you would take. So it was easy for me because I was like, my 4 family members and Pierce. So that's all I would do. But if it was 3,
who gets knocked out?
Yeah. Which child isn't coming?
Okay, so first,
wife.
obvious choice first is Pierce. From there, we'll go Zoe, my dog.
Because it's all downhill. Now I can't choose any family.
Hey, I think that's the thing.
Right?
Like if there's 3 people, it's not going to be my family.
No
'cause
family.
you imagine you can't leave somebody behind.
No,
you
you
can't.
can't. Damn it! Now then I'd have to change mine. Then
Yeah, you have to change your.
mine's still going to be Grant Hill. Then
Grant Hill.
Grant Hill. I love that we have this basketball theme. Well, it's so interesting.
yeah, Grant Hill is coming. Dang, I'm gonna have to go with obviously Dollar is gonna be in there too.
Nice.
And
I was
then-
worried.
And then,
Yeah, I was sweating over
Yeah, I
there.
was like,
I can have somebody play me music. And then, dang, dude,
Run that one back, Dollar. Dance in the Sunshine. One more time.
Yeah, that's all I play for you. I know, I like it.
It's been 11 years, Mike. Can I play a different song?
Grant Hill, Tony Dollar, and let's see. I want to say, man, that third one is hard, huh? Now that we're narrowing it down, that third one.
Did I cop out though? I think I copped out.
you didn't say a third.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, I just
Wait,
cut
who
him
are the
off.
two
Yeah,
I said?
you-
Oh, I said Zoe. I was kind of kidding.
Me
though.
and Zoe.
So not Zoe. Sorry, Zoe. Yeah. So while you're thinking, maybe I'll try to come up. Boy, this is fucking hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He came up with this so easy. He's like, Charles Berkeley.
I know. I know. Okay, so I think for me it would be Pierce, Bob Marley. I'd love to pick that guy's brain. Plus, heard he's got pretty good weed. Actually, no, I have. Have you ever seen the pictures of Bob Marley's weed?
It's all like,
Bro,
sticks and
it
stones.
was the times,
Yeah, I was
obviously. But it was like, wow,
It was
what's
a little
going
black,
on there?
you know. I was like,
Yeah, it's a lot of seeds happening.
yeah, a lot of seeds going
Sticks everywhere. No, so Bob Marley, Mike Pierce, and we'll just stick with the basketball theme. I'm going with Magic Johnson.
on. Hey, okay.
Maybe I could get to the bottom of why he looks younger than me.
He can't.
I don't know if you'll have answers.
He can't prepare any of a food dollar. He can't prepare any of it.
Oh, I didn't think about food.
I'm not being a hater. I'm just.
Oh, you're a
not
decent
being
cook,
a
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I'm okay. I can cook okay. I should. That's something to think about, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have somebody.
That's
that cooks
actually
some-
fair. I thought about that too, so I might have to change my whole lineup if we're talking about survival food too.
yeah. You
My
got it,
third
Pierce.
My third one. I'm gonna say just because I want to laugh, bro. I'm gonna say Joe Coy.
Oh, that would be great.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a solid one. That's a
Great.
solid one.
Our island's having
One-
a blast.
One of my favorite comedians is Bill Burr, but I don't know if I'd want to hang out with him all the time.
Because
You
sometimes
are
Bill
stuck
Burr
in-
gets dark and he like, gets
Yeah.
like negative.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh,
Yeah.
damn it.
We're in the desert,
no fucking water.
You know what I can't stand? I can't stand. There's no water out here.
Well, if food is a problem, taking off my best friend, I'm throwing on a world-renowned chef.
Oh,
I don't know who they are. I don't know their
We'll
name
find
right now.
somebody.
Gordon
but-
Ramsay's gonna have to be Gordon Ramsay.
Oof.
Anybody,
That's another
but,
personality
you know,
conflict.
Yeah, I was
feel
like, that's why I didn't say him. I was like, I can't take that.
Isn't that
person
funny that
out.
he's probably the first one that popped into all of our heads?
Yeah.
Because
Thinking
well,
about
then
cooks.
nobody else is allowed to cook. Because then it'd be just critiqued all the time, right? He's like, this is
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Taste this.
Because in our scenario, you have everything you need. Otherwise, this guy's trying to get
Yeah.
access deer or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? And coconuts. That's what we're eating.
I hope he knows geology at that point. Like,
Yeah.
we're in the desert.
Yeah. Good luck, bro. But it's a desert island, right? So it's beautiful too. It's ocean and everything's calm. We're just gonna keep building out this world, Pierce.
Yeah.
It's, one day we're gonna have to make it into a
I
movie.
know.
We'll
He runs into the villagers. Turns out they're not alone on this island.
Wait, Fronzo, you're here too? Oh, Janet Jackson, Charles Barkley?
It's where the multiverse happens.
So, what are all the different things that you create? Because you're all over the place. You're a very
am
creative
all over
person,
the
right? So, there's obviously we talked a little about theater, and
Yes.
I am curious about how you prepare. Because when I used to do theater, like I would do all those same kind of things. There's the character building, and then there's like literally the memorizing lines. But I just remember sitting with like a line and going through it like 1,000 times and like thinking about the context of the situation and what would this guy do, and then thinking I have it and then doing it and it doesn't feel right. And
Yeah.
I'm just curious. So I guess we'll go back to that.
Totally.
Yeah.
I would say kind of in the same sense. I love to get the script, read all the way through it, because Will Smith taught me it's not good to just read the first 30 pages. So yeah, I like to grab the script, read all the way through it, and then find the character. I like to read through it sometimes a few times, certain scene by scene, and really just start writing out what is the intention in here. How is like the character starting versus how is
You
he
actually
gonna
write
end?
those things out.
Yeah, like at least jot them down on the script or something, just because I know for me, like I'm trying. I think that's what my thing with writing is. I think everything can be stored in my brain because I'm like, I'm a theater kid. Like I can put everything in here and I'll remember it. But I'm like, writing it out is still very helpful. So yeah, I try to write it out, and then I kind of go through line by line, find the again the character for it. I think every line is usually, if you're working with like someone that has written a piece that each word has an intention behind it. They don't like when go off book or throw in your own words. Right. So yeah, I try to find the intention behind those lines to kind of make them stick in my brain.
It's about a certain amount of trust to the writer, right?
Yeah, because I know for me, like that's something when I was early on was very more easier for me to understand the writing was for me to start with the script and then be able to go off on a tangent or kind of throw in my own words to find my way through it. But yeah, I think like the older you get, the more you're just like, hey, let me figure out what this beat is, and that's another thing. A lot of writers write in a specific pattern or a beat, just like we all speak in a specific kind of rhythm.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I like to just sit with the script, see. I'd like to do this at night for the most part. I think that's when words and memorization just sticks in a lot easier. And yeah, just go through, find the pieces that I think are really good, and then just try different things multiple times. I really like when you can go into a rehearsal process and try out different methods and then expect it in the opposite of them expecting you to already know what that character is, because I think that at least just gives room for you and whoever else you're working with to find the natural chemistry a little bit better, instead of being, I think, more like just robotic with it, you can see some things coming out. So yeah, that's kind of my process when I grabbed a scripto.
Do you do, so obviously you do stage acting, do you do film acting at all?
Yeah, stage acting, film acting, everything under the sun I like to get my hands in. So for the longest time I did improv for some years, again doing a lot of immersive shows, so that would be kind of performance and kind of body movement based pieces. I love to get into figuring out, I think, just more physicality with theater. I'm trying to think what else.
Yeah, it's just interesting to me the difference between the two, because I never did anything I did a couple of silly little things for like friends who were making films and stuff, but it was always stage acting, and it just seems it's so different. Clearly, I mean,
that was my biggest transition, was figuring out like doing regular stage acting and then film, because it's
so subtle. Film is so subtle.
You don't have to make as big of emotions or like gestures when you're doing things over camera, because it picks up everything. You need, if anything, you need to be more authentic with who you are.
Of course, because it'll come across as hacky or weird if you're like, so Mike, where are we going to dinner tonight? You're like, what is going on, bro?
I've seen far too many videos of myself where I'm like, boy, why did you do that? Why did you say that line that way, you weirdo?
That's the other thing about film, it's always there.
Yeah.
That's one thing I love about film, is because it is something that's always been a great teacher, because you can go back and watch it as many times through as you need to be like, all right, don't do that again. You need to do that a little bit better. But I think also that's why I enjoy the in-person and kind of live theaters, because you only have that one take. You only have that one. And also like with interacting with people at engagements and events, it's like, hey, make it right now. Make that moment count, because after that, it's just going to keep rolling on. And I love that kind of, just the risk and reward of that is beautiful. I think it reminds me of living. It's like, hey, you don't get extra chances.
One time
it's a done time.
And that's what I like about live stuff too. It's in the moment. It does. You have to be in the present moment, like when you're doing that. And it's so interesting when you're acting too, because you're playing a character or whatever that you've worked on. And I like how you pointed out too that it's always a blend of like your personality and your own self. There's no two actors are going to play a character identically. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's where I find, like, I think even more motivation to do pieces is when I see someone do an acting job or something within the field where I'm like, I would have done that differently, or I would have added to this, or maybe I would have done it exactly the same. I could have never done it how they did it. I really love that aspect of, like, I think too that kind of speaks to more like the behind the scenes and doing like directing and things lately is because I love the fact that sometimes you just put it into another person's hands and it's like, you get to make it. All I get to do is like give you a little bit of encouragement, tell you where you're going to be at. Otherwise, it's like your show to run. I find that to be really cool.
Yeah, and I guarantee it's like that all over the place. There's different approaches. There's the I wrote this just this way, and I want it put out this way. And then you have directors who are like, this is my vision for it, and I really want this, or whatever. But I love most. It's like, to me, it reminds me of music too. Like going into a studio and then your label's like all over your ass about like what you're doing or what they don't like or what you should be doing versus going, yo, we just trust in your talent. Yeah. You do your thing. We're going to do our best to like capture that and put that out there for the world in a way and that people can consume it. So I love that. I like that approach of letting the actor do their thing.
I've run into like a few directors, and that's why I'm like grateful, because I've run into some directors that they give me the script and I'm like, oh boy, there are not enough words. If anything, I don't understand the point unless I add like more context to it. And then there's other directors where I'm like, they're like, no, if you want to add anything, feel free to add stuff. And I'm like, this is a perfect script. I don't find anything more that I need to add to like find my own placement for it. So yeah, it's cool to see that, and I'm glad Colorado's diversity is such in that way. There are so many people that I'd love to work with, and there's other people where I'm like, I'm just gonna be weary and
that's important.
Watch. It's
important. We forget about that.
Yeah, people like to jump on projects back to back to back to back, and I think that's something for like a lot of young artists in any profession or like medium, any place in life, is just like know your spots. You don't have to do anything because it's available. Sometimes it's available for a reason. Everybody else sees why they don't want to do it, why the things that could be detrimental on the other side for doing stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's always something, just like, it's good to know you have options. It's also good to be specific on the options or opportunities you decide to take.
Yeah. What would you say, and this might be a hard question, so it can just be a moment, but if you can think of one, what is your best moment on stage, or like your highest moment or your favorite moment? Or maybe even like a painful learning moment that really shaped you.
I'll say, at least recently, this was in the last 2 years, a moment that I had on stage that like felt surreal to me was I was doing this play that was surrounding busing here in Denver, Colorado from back in the day.
Oh yeah.
And so I was playing the dad to a 3-generational family. So I was a dad, I had a daughter, and then I also had my mother. And it was a 3-person play that took place outside on a bus in a church parking lot. And basically the bus was our whole stage. We had risers and stuff.
Wow.
They infused dance and puppetry, which is its own theater class out here. Something I found out, like they have their whole community, something I found out about during that show, which was really cool. So we were doing the show, and in the show, there's a very kind of intense moment where I'm talking about losing my wife and talking about how I don't want to lose my mother because she's kind of ill and she's going through some stuff. And I'll say in rehearsal and kind of the backstage behind the show was in a lot of ways somewhat corny. Like it was just hard to wrap fully around at times. And I remember every time we had to do that like specific part where I was trying to like get emotional. I was trying to find some reason to care about a wife that I've never had, a loss that I've really never experienced to that time. It was hard to grasp. And I remember one night I did. I remember I was just on there and I felt so sad and so like empty of the words I was talking about. And for me, it just was a big moment of not only finding that kind of deeper feeling to becoming an actor, to kind of expressing those emotions even when you have to find new meaning behind them. And then also I think just for the show, it went from something that was not as serious when we first took on and I saw a lot of problems with it to something that I fully believed in and wanted to like do my best to convey and have
That's
people,
amazing.
yeah, have people believe in. So yeah, within the run of that show, I think that was a big moment where I was like, wow, this hit me. This shows that, you know, you can have growth even in areas where you didn't expect it to happen as much, you know?
Yeah, totally. And when you didn't see it coming, and it's
Yeah.
like a totally different expectation. And we talked about this. You never did theater, right, Pierce?
No.
I'm just curious. Yeah. Any reason you didn't? Do you like theater? Do you like going to shows or anything like that?
Yeah, I go to shows and stuff like that. Like, you know, we do Nutcracker, we do like I've taken the wife to like Billy Elliot, stuff like that, you know, like those kind of things, like musicals, I guess. Not necessarily like theater, but like musicals, do a lot of musical stuff like that.
When's the last show you've been to? Yeah.
Last show we went to?
What year?
What year? Man.
I'm trying to think of me too now. It's been at least a few years.
It was
2 or
supposed to
3
be
at
it was
least.
supposed to be it was the ballet, but it was supposed to be at the Pace Center in Parker. We were supposed to go to the Nutcracker, but then Callie got like real sick, so we didn't do that. And I thought, man, I want to say it's been a few years. I want to say it's probably been like when I took the wifey to Billy Elliot.
Okay.
I feel like we've gone to see theater for people who've come on the show before.
No, we've done improv. Yeah, we've gone to see.
Oh, that's what it
Brogan's.
was.
So we've gone
Brogan,
to
that's
see Brogan at what is it? The damn it, I forget what it was called.
Does he know?
downtown.
Do you know
Rise?
Brogan?
No. I don't
Oh, okay.
know. But yeah,
Is it Rise Comedy?
no.
There's no way I'm remembering this steel trap. You're the guy.
I know. I was trying to think what it was, but yeah, we went to her improv show.
Yeah, that was fun.
So yeah, so
I
maybe
love stuff like
maybe
that.
sooner than that then.
Yeah,
Improv is that's a deadly animal over there that they're playing with. I personally I loved my time with improv because I had a unit of like friends that we just like all vibed on the same wavelength, and I think that's super important when you do something that's so crew based like
Yeah.
like that, and especially when you're telling jokes. Because I've done improv since then with a few different groups. Last time I was on here, I was doing it over Zoom with some people from New
remember
York.
that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just a whole different vibe. And when people don't laugh at your jokes, it's hilarious.
Yeah, wow, man, what a great conversation, dude. Fronzo, you'll have to come back again.
Please.
It was
Appreciate
it's
y'all.
an honor and a privilege every time. It was really cool to meet you in person today.
Yeah.
To actually see you. I was asking Mike before you came. I was like, is he tall? He looks tall. Is he tall? Yeah. He's like, yeah, he's pretty tall.
But yeah, so anything you got coming up you want to announce? And
Yeah, I would say if you guys just go check out, follow Different Media. That's DYFFERENT Media. Check out our other shows. They'll be coming out. We have something August 5th. Otherwise, I'm going to be grinding out some summer classes going on right now, getting ready for some new events, but nothing else on the horizon.
nice. And with us, Dollar, we got Tyler Stanfield coming up. We got Terrell Matheny coming up here too. So
Oh, yeah,
we
yeah.
got a few people
Exciting.
coming on here too. Yeah.
Exciting.
Nice.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. And with
Maybe
that,
a little DJ Jones in the future.
hopefully if he says yes.
Oh no, he said yes.
That's everybody's.
We're just working out
everybody's
dates.
Colorado, that anybody that's our age, dream. DJ Jones, he was on the radio.
I told you before, it's so weird for me because I always find myself like finding people fanboy out every time we go. It's so funny. We went into the dark hole, Pierce. We went past the music.
Yeah.
And now it feels like the podcast could just go forever.
Forever.
But it's not.
It's not.
No.
Because with that dollar, it is a wrap. Cheers.